Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
A fishy way to go. As she leant against the cold metal railings along the River Thames, Kendra O'Connor, retired detective, loved the icy coldness of the metal against her aging fingers, and she watched as her breath formed thick columns of vapor. It definitely wasn't the morning she had expected, but when her best friend and head of the cold case task force, retired detective Jeff Long, called her late last night, this was going to be exciting. Kendra was sure of that. The sounds of ships loading and unloading echoed around her, as Kendra watched massive transport and cargo ships go past her on the river, and large trucks rushed up and down the road behind her as they were loaded up with goods and shipped all over the United Kingdom. Kendra had never been in this area of the docks before, but she wasn't a fan. The little concrete jetty she stood on was cold, unloved, and completely wasted. She didn't know what it was used for, or even what it was meant to be for. At first, Kendra wondered if it was meant to be a small place for Londoners to fish, but that would never be allowed, especially with so many massive ships passing through. So Kendra had no idea. As freezing cold air seeped through her thick black coat and into her bones, Kendra's joints started to ache, and she really wished her friends would get here soon so they could tell her why she had been called. Normally, Jeff Long sent Kendra some cold case files the night before, so she had time to review them. Not this time, and Kendra didn't know whether to be concerned or happy about that. It meant she got an unexpected evening with her wonderful husband, but it also meant she didn't know what to expect today. And that concerned her greatly. But just from looking around the little jetty, Kendra could probably guess what the case was about. The jetty was clearly old, no cameras around, and there were no neighbors nearby, meaning it wouldn't be difficult to commit a criminal act without being disturbed. The sound of two people walking on concrete made Kendra look around and smile as she saw her two best friends. In his wonderful normal style, Jeff Long wore his elegant black suit, black shoes, and his hair was perfectly cut to make him look posh. Then 70-something retired officer Patricia Nelson gave Kendra a warm hug that Kendra badly needed, and she was instantly jealous of Patricia's even thicker black coat, hat, and gloves. Kendra needed to remember gloves and a hat next time. "What's this about today?" Kendra asked. Jeff sort of shrugged. "I didn't call us together. Patricia did." Patricia smiled. "Thanks both for coming, Huns." Kendra cocked her head. "Since when do you get us cold cases from the police commissioner?" Patricia walked to the metal railings and leant against them. "I didn't. This was my first unsolved case as a cop, and it's bugged me ever since." Kendra smiled and went closer to Patricia. So did Jeff. She could understand her frustration. Kendra had had more than her fair share of cold cases during her career. She utterly hated them. Each cold case was like a badge of failure as a cop towards herself, the families, and the victims. Kendra always wanted to honor the families, friends, and victims of the crime, but each cold case meant that was impossible. Kendra hated that feeling. She had to help Patricia. "Sorry to hear that," Jeff said. "What was it?" "We are standing at the exact murder scene of a young woman aged 31 years old. She was killed in 1998. "Do you have the reports?" Kendra asked. Patricia nodded and slid out 2 copies of the report out of her coat and gave them to Jeff and Kendra. As Kendra read it quickly, she was horrified at the state of the body. It was clearly a young woman, whose body was so damaged and eaten by the fishes that it almost looked deformed. "I know, hun. Not nice. A friend of mine threw up at the sight. Not surprised, Kendra said. But the report says a number of things were found in and on the body. Patricia shook her head and closed her eyes, taking a few deep breaths. It's okay. We're here, Kendra said, rubbing her shoulder. Instead of bothering Patricia anymore with the foul details, Kendra focused on the report and gasped when she read the victim's stomach was filled with fish food, and even some of the skin was flayed and fish food was forced underneath. That fish food stuff is disgusting, Kendra said. That's nothing, Jeff said. Listen to this. The body was covered in a thin layer of lye. But evidence shows the young woman was alive when all this was done. Kendra closed the report and took deep breaths. This was all outrageous. It was impossible to think someone had actually thought about this, let alone actually carried it out. Who was the victim? Kendra asked. She was a dock worker, hun. Worked long hours, few friends, no family in the area. But lot of money. How? Kendra asked. Her dad had been a dock worker a few decades before, and her entire childhood had been filled with arguments about money between her parents. Dock workers didn't earn very much. We didn't look into it, Patricia said, throwing her arms up in the air. Relax. You weren't in charge. The lead detective should have followed it up, Jeff said. Patricia ignored him. I remember the docks being gang-controlled back then, Kendra said. Still are. At least a good portion of these docks, Jeff said. You thinking it's gang-related? Explains the money. What would a young woman want with the gangs? Jeff asked. Actually, hun, we need to follow up something at home. There was another murder nearby about the gangs. What murder? Kendra asked. 2 rival gangs. Shootout on a cargo ship. The Met, government and security services went mad because it was holding something important to them. Relevant to murder? Jeff asked. No. The security angle was just a coincidence. The gang rival, though, that could be important, Huns. As Patricia started to walk away, Kendra just looked at Jeff and they both followed her. If Kendra had learned anything during her time with the task force, it was how great of an officer Patricia was. If she thought there was a connection there. There was. And Kendra had to see it through. She had to help Patricia. After driving back to Patricia's apartment in the heart of London, and surviving the horrific traffic, Kendra, Jeff and Patricia sat on her large black armchairs around a slightly smaller coffee table whilst Patricia flicked through her high-tech laptop. Kendra had to admit it was a beautiful apartment. It was much larger than she had expected, and Patricia had really made it her own with her modern designs, but still brushing her past in. Like the colorful jars, pots and even splashes of wallpaper from the 50s, 60s and 80s. Even the smell was wonderful, with the baking gingerbread in the oven, providing an intoxicating aroma of pure heaven. Kendra was definitely going to stay here for a little while. She had to try some of that gingerbread. Here, Huns, in 1998, 2 days before the young woman was killed. 2 rival gangs boarded a cargo ship and opened fire. Police believed the shootout started elsewhere but ended up on the ship. Kendra leant closer. Police wanted to interrogate the gangs, but they all died, and the one survivor was escorted off by MI6 for their purposes. Really, it says that? Jeff asked. Ha. No, hun, but we all know police shorthand for each agency. Kendra could only nod to that. Even though the police weren't ever meant to document any actions of the security services, the police still managed to find a way around those strict orders. What evidence or theories did the police have? Kendra asked. There was only one, really. The 2 gangs in question were drug runners. One had controlled the drug supply in North London for over a century. The other gang was foreign, French to be specific. A French gang? Kendra asked, surprised. She would have expected another nationality to be interested in moving drugs into the UK. Yeah, Patricia said. The French gang was a rogue element of another gang, and they wanted to go into the drug business. Kendra stood up and stretched her legs. But what was the young woman's role? That's if she had a role at all, Jeff said. Kendra shrugged. Let's assume the two gangs were in some kind of drug war. The French gang wanted to set up operations in North London. Okay. Patricia and Jeff nodded. Then what? The gang leaders realized. Jeff pointed his finger at Patricia. Search for any later mentions of this French gang. Did the gang survive or not? Good idea, Kendra said, sitting back down. Yeah, hun, they were arrested 3 years later after a drug siege. They were investigated 4 times between the shootout and the siege. Kendra nodded. This was starting to make perfect sense because if the gang survived, then they might have learnt more about the North London gang, after learning that a direct approach didn't work. After her decades-long career in the police, she knew for a fact that gangs weren't stupid. Sometimes they were far more intelligent than the officers investigating them, and some of the leaders were the smartest people she had ever met. So Kendra needed to start thinking like them. I just lost my members to a shootout. The police are aware of us and more dark suits were also present, Kendra said. What do I do? Go to ground, hun. Nah, Jeff said. The North London gang would be under pressure. It's a great time to attack. So I investigate their network. Find out how they work, how they run, how they operate, Kendra said. Patricia clicked her fingers. Including their drug runners, or someone to do with the operation. Exactly, Kendra said, feeling a massive wave of excitement wash over her. Pat, what exactly did the young woman do in the docks? Patricia swiped a few times on her laptop and shook her head. She was working 2 jobs. Part-time working in the customs. Part-time working on the admin side. The docks were stretched back in those days, Patricia said. Kendra simply nodded, and everyone made the same connection. It was clear that the young woman was perfectly in place to do whatever the gang needed her to do. When the drug shipments came in, all she had to do was check it in at the admin side of things, and make sure customs already thought they had searched it. Then she just had to collect the drugs when she was working in customs. A perfect plan. So the French gang killed her to cripple their operations, Kendra said. Jeff nodded. Pat, any of the gang still alive? Yeah. Most of the French gang turned on each other, and the Met managed to get them all. Some were extradited out to France and Spain for crimes there. Most died in prison. But? Kendra asked. But one remained, and you won't believe this. Kendra and Jeff smiled. He's a fisherman, and has a degree in marine biology. Exactly the sort of person who might use fishes to eat a body, Jeff said, getting up and dialing his phone. As Jeff walked off to call in all the information to the police commissioner, Kendra felt a wave of excitement, pleasure and happiness wash over her as she had finally helped Patricia. Now hopefully her friend could relax, and stop letting this case bug her so much. A small part of Kendra wished she could do the same for herself. There were a good number of cold cases she needed to solve, and when she looked at Patricia's massive smiling face, Kendra wondered for the first time in decades that might actually be possible. Maybe she could put her skeletons to bed and help those families. Maybe she needed to bring it up. Maybe she needed to help herself, those families and the victims of her own cases. Patricia gave Kendra a massive hug. Thank you. Happy to help, Kendra said, and she truly was. There wasn't a person Kendra would be more happy to help. Because not only had Kendra helped her best friend get a weight off her shoulders, but she had also helped the victim, her friends and others get justice for her. And that was an amazing feeling. Oh. The gingerbread's done, Patricia said, hurrying off to the kitchen. Kendra licked her lips as she was definitely going to stay a while, not only to celebrate and relax with Patricia and Jeff, but to taste some of that amazing gingerbread too.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story. because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ConnorWhiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.